Hello there, everyone. My name is Crazy Caleb, and today we're going to be taking a look at blind arrows. So this is the way the module looks. It has a 5x5 grid with one of the grid of buttons, in this case, having a arrow pointing a specific direction. And also we have two LEDs, one on the top and one on the right. So now what we're going to use is we're going to use the position that the arrow is currently at, the direction it's at, and the colors of the LEDs to determine what button we need to press next in this case. So in this case, what we're going to do is we need to first find the initial button. And we're going to be doing this module 3 times. The stages before or after are not relevant to each other. They are just simply together. And the only way that they connect is after pressing the correct button, the arrow will move to that position and generate another set of LEDs and a new arrow direction. So if you were to press, for example, Charlie 3 from this position, the next stage would be some arrow direction in Charlie 3. That's how this works. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this first table here, and we're going to use the colors of the two LEDs, the one at the top and the one on the right. We're going to use the top LED's color as the column and the right LEDs as the row. So in this case, we both have two oranges here, so orange and orange. Now, this will give you a rule to apply to the number on the next table. However, in this case, that rule is actually not available, or there is just nothing to do. So simply where we're going to go down to is this next bit. So normally we would get a specific number to add or subtract in this case, or some other special rule that we would have to do. And we would base it off of the starting number that we get from here, from this second table. So the columns up here refer to the direction the arrow is pointing, and the position of which refers to the position on the grid. So in this case, this is echo 5, and the arrow is currently pointing southwest. So let's take a look here. So that number currently is 23. Now, normally we would do some sort of special rule to apply to that number. However, in this case, since it's orange, that there is no rule to apply in this case. So now what we're going to go down here, and if we happen to get a modification that is below 100 or above 100 in this case, we're going to modulo it by 100, and if it's 0, we're going to add the serial number digits for the number instead. So in this case, what we need to do now for the second stage, for the second part of this module, is we need to figure out what range this number is in between. So in this case, that number is going to be between 21 and 40. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at these rules present in this case. So the movement is going to be 3 spaces in the direction of the arrow. So in this case, we would do looping around. In this case, that's how it works. We would do 1, 2, and 3. In this case, leading us to Bravo 3. However, we do have some otherwise conditions that we must pay attention to. If the bomb has a lit IND, FR Quebec, or NSA indicator, rotate the arrow 45 degrees clockwise and go that direction instead. So let's actually take a look at our edge work here. So in this case, we have a lit Sierra November Delta, which is not one of the indicators that we have to pay attention to. It is also important to note that if you happen to get a lit or unlit bob present at all, press the arrow until the module is solved. So that is going to be a unicorn in this case, regardless of whether or not these rules apply. Always press the arrow if you get a lit or unlit bob. However, in this case, we simply do not have that rule, so we can continue on with what we were doing. So the but rule in this case did not apply. So in this case, we're simply going to press Bravo 3 to move on to the next stage.
Is an acceptable answer.
And just like that, it was correct. And now the arrow does go to here, go to the Bravo 3, and now it changes direction, and the LEDs are different as well. So let's take a look at the next stage. Let's figure out everything that we have here. So on the top here, we have yellow, and on the right here, we have red as our row. Yellow and red. So in this case, whatever number we get down here, we're simply going to be adding 15 to. So right now we are currently in Bravo 3. And the direction of the arrow is pointing northeast. So in this case, it's 4. So 0, 4. So popping out our handy dandy calculator, 15 plus 4 is 19. So now let's head down to the bottom to figure out which button we're going to press. And in this case, it is between 1 and 20, and this is inclusive as well. 1 and 20 is inclusive, as with everything else. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to move 2 spaces in the direction of the arrow. But if the bomb has more batteries than indicators, move in the opposite direction of the arrow. So in this case, we do have more batteries than indicators. We have 2 batteries and we only have 1 indicator present. So in this case, we're going to be moving 2 spaces in the opposite direction of the arrow. So in this case, southwest. So we're going to do 1, looping around to the table here, 2, back to echo 5.
Very well done.
And just like that, it's good. So for our last stage here, we have black at the top, and we have green on the right side. So in this case, our number is minus 25. We're currently back at echo 5, and in this case, it's pointing directly south. So in this case, we're looking at 81. 81, in this case, minus 25, is going to give us 56. Let's take a look at that rule. So in between 41 and 60, we're simply going to be moving 1 space opposite the direction of the arrow in this case. And there is no available otherwise rule in this case. So in this case, we're going to simply move 1 space opposite the arrow, so that'll be 1 space north.
Is the right answer.
And just like that is a solved module. Let's take a look at one final example, because this module is pretty straightforward. It's just doing the same thing 3 times in a row. There are some rules I would like to go over in the table, and if we don't get them, that's totally fine. Some of these rules have to include swapping the positions of the numbers that you get. So for example, say if we get 53, if you happen to get this rule, this number will no longer be 53, it will be 35. Simple as that. However, we have some other special rules that we must pay attention to. In this case, if you haven't seen already, we have 5 spaces daunt and 5 spaces uant, which in this case, the daunt means down on the next table from the number, and uant means up on the next table from the number. So what exactly does this mean? So in this case, if we were to get 5 spaces from duant, and let's say we happen to have 37, so we're going to move 5 spaces down on the table. So we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our new number will be 44 in this case. So that's what that means. And vice versa, if we were to move up from 37, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, would give us 32. So those are what those rules mean. So let's take a look at this last example. So in this case, we have black and yellow as our 2 colors here. So now we're going to be swapping the position of the numbers based off of our position on the grid and the direction of the arrow. So we're going to the arrow is northwest, pointing northwest, and our position is a Charlie 4. Charlie 4, swapping the position of the numbers, in this case, instead of 95, it gives us 59. So in this case, that is going to be between 41 and 60. And we're simply going to move 1 space opposite the direction of the arrow. So in this case, moving southwest, instead we're moving northwest, we're going to move southeast in this case.
Is the right answer.
And just like that, it's good. So next up, we're going to be taking a look at cyan. Cyan is another not available rule. If you happen to get the same colors except red or white, there will be no rule applied to them. Red is a guaranteed number is 0, and white is a guaranteed number is 99. So always pay attention to those. And in this case, if your number ends up being 0, we're going to simply just add the 0 number digits for that number. So just make sure you pay attention to those rules. So in this case, let's take a look at what our position is and what our numbers are, because we're not applying any rules in this case. So the position is currently at delta 5, and we are currently facing the arrows pointing south in this case. So our number this time around is 78. In between 78 is going to be in this range right here. So our movement is going to be 5 spaces in the direction of the arrow. But if more than half of the modules on the bomb have been solved at generation of this stage, move in the opposite direction of the arrow instead. Now, I'm just going to straight up say this rule really is just pretty self-explanatory. Just press the same arrow, because 5 directions in any space will automatically put you at the same exact spot that you are, regardless of direction. So in this case, this rule is basically telling you to press the same arrow, regardless of if the but case applies. So in this case, let's just press the same position that the arrow is in right now. And just like that, it works. So for our last stage here, we have magenta and orange. Magenta and orange is going to be at plus 40, and we are currently at still at delta 5. Our arrow is now pointing northwest. So we're currently at 90. We're going to be adding 40 to that 90. and that gives us 130. We're going to now modulo it by 100 because it is over 100, so modulo 100, and that will be 30. Or simply just take the last 2 digits of the result, and that's what you need to do. So now let's find the rule that's between 30. So between 21 and 40, that's where 30 can be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move 3 spaces in the direction of the arrow. And we did not have any of those indicators present, so we're simply just going to move 3 spaces in the direction of the arrow. Sorry, I'm just misspeaking a lot today. So in this case, we're going to move northwest 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And just like that is a solved module. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.